Following video contains graphic violence, gore, and general clownery. Viewer discretion advised.
Welcome to Slash City. I am your host, Slasher Sam. Now, when we talk about the true faces of the slasher subgenre, the real icons, right? We talk about Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, Freddy, Leatherface, Chucky, and I think probably even the newest addition, Ghostface. But I think it's time we had a discussion about one of the new kids on the block.
You got the right stuff, baby.
No, not them. Of course, I'm talking about Art the Clown and the Terrifier series. Now, the character itself originated in some short films back in 2009 and 2011 by director Damien Leone. But the rendition we know today was developed in 2016 when the role was taken over by David Howard Thornton. And he has all the elements you want in an icon. While yes, we have seen the clown character portrayed in both slasher and horror in general before, Art has a unique style all his own. You're almost put off by looking at him. He makes you feel uncomfortable. His gangly body, his silly yet quiet, intimidating demeanor just makes you feel uneasy. The actor playing him, the aforementioned David Howard Thornton, knows how to get the most out of Art, given he provides no dialogue through either film thus far. Now, the Terrifier series up to this point pushes gore above all else. And I can't imagine Mr. Leone dials that back as the franchise builds. My assumption is he'll actually double down each time and push it to its limit. Now, I don't really have any issues with this. The effect work in the Terrifier films is practical, and I know we're pretty damn desensitized now, so essentially, do what you gotta do. My only advice there would be don't get so hyper-focused on it that your story and film overall suffers. Now, that's an issue I do start to see more in part 2. The bedroom scene, for example, is so drawn out that I went past the point of shock into, okay, I get it. But more on that later. Another theme we see in these films is that the victim doesn't die immediately. I would define the kills as overkills. Now, we get a lot of stabbing, particularly to the face, and we always see the victim continuing to squirm. So it's not just that he's killing them, we're hitting home that these aren't fatal wounds. The victim is being tortured throughout. Now, when it comes to the first film, I think we were so close to a near-perfect slasher. Unfortunately, Damien makes two crucial mistakes in my opinion that not only take me out of the moment, but I think also have negative effects toward the follow-up film and any film that comes in the future. Now, in the first, what we had going for us was this battle between Art and our protagonist Tara. This is the first installment, and we have no preconceived feelings toward either character coming in, unless of course you're all too familiar with Damien Shorts or All Hallows Eve. But for the most part, this is our first glimpse of Art and Terrifier. Naturally, part of the audience is connecting with Art, but another large part is also connecting with Tara. Is Tara a potential Laurie Strode, Nancy Thompson type character? Is her existence tied to Art as we continue to build our story? Now, not only is the answer no, but we get that answer far too early when Art shoots Tara in the head, killing our protagonist halfway through the film, and thus really creating a major issue with our remaining time. For those who liked or were connecting to Tara, you're just left stranded. There will be no final chase, no final fight. You're left with nothing. We then get a new protagonist, Victoria, thrust into our world. Sure, she's Tara's sister, but honestly, who cares? I have no connection to this character, and we're too far along for me to build any rapport now. Now, this is a case of outthinking yourself and getting just a little too cute. Now, the idea here was to keep us even more on our feet, that no one is safe in Art's world. But Art's world hasn't even really yet been established. Now, if this is Terrifier 6, sure, I get it. Art is now our established slasher, and we've accepted that we're here to see him specifically. Everyone else, just kill fodder. But this is a mistake in an entry film. It completely removes you from the emotion the rest of the way. Now, some folks will bring up Scream and the use of Drew Barrymore, but keep in mind that was the opening sequence. And if you're going to spout Psycho to me, fine, it worked once. 60 years ago. But this isn't Psycho, and Damien isn't Alfred Hitchcock, so let's press on. So what we're left with now was previously Tara's screen time, now split between her sister Victoria, some random cat lady, and a handyman. Not ideal. So let's refocus on Art. The moment he really grew on me and I began thinking, oh, I think we've really got something here, is when he finally gets a hold of Tara and ties her up. He goes through his bag of tools deciding what his next weapon of choice will be. He toys with Tara a bit, pretending like he's going to hit her again and again. I enjoy when we let Art explore his goofy side. I can't recall smiling as much with other slashers as I do with him when he's just being a clown. Him riding his tricycle through the warehouse later on, or when he's chasing Victoria at the end and he can't get through that chain door. He reaches through with a horn and starts honking it. It's a truly entertaining moment that shows Art enjoys every moment of what he's doing. Now jumping back at the warehouse with Tara tied up. This is when I really think Art puts himself on the map. Art pulls back a curtain, revealing Dawn hanging upside down, legs spread apart. I think this is when most audiences go, okay, how are they going to pull this off? Sort of a, are they really going to do this type moment? And they do, right? Damien goes all in on this and Art saws Dawn right in half. This is a big moment in the movie because we're really getting quite a bit of goofiness from Art, some borderline silly, yet gruesome kills. Now we're all in. Terrifier has officially taken it up a notch, and we can now expect the unexpected. There are no boundaries that won't be crossed. Now speaking of boundaries, or I guess rules of the slasher, no weapon is off the table. At one point, Tara puts Art down with a board to the head, but when she approaches him, he swings around with a gun and shoots her in the leg. Now I don't want to say this was even more surprising than sawing a woman in half, but yeah, it kind of was. Guns are typically a no-no in slashers with very few exceptions. You're not expecting it, and it's tough to pull it off without the audience feeling cheated, but here it works. We're again establishing that Art does not give a fuck. Yes, he's sadistic and he likes it up close and personal, but he'll cheat if he needs to. He is not above popping a cap in that ass. Now, our first film ends with Art finally getting to Victoria, and when the police find him, he's devouring her face. Now, rather than going quietly, he pulls a gun from his ankle holster and sticks it in his mouth, pulling the trigger. It's an interesting choice from a story perspective. Now, typically, you're expecting the killer to, of course, kill the police officers and get away. It's a little unexpected, but also satisfying at the same time. My thought was, okay, we're breaking the mold again. We're doing one and done. But this choice also leads to my other major gripe of this film. Throughout the film, Art, while yes, insanely sadistic, he's still human. He takes a beating, but nothing fatal. At no point was I rolling my eyes like, oh, how would he live through that? Which I like. I prefer my killers mortal. However, when Art arrives at the morgue, we get this electrical surge through the room, and then suddenly Art's awake. It just feels unwarranted and cheap. If you're going to have him get away, just do something instead of having him shoot himself. There's no payoff of going, well, I guess he's supernatural now. And we continue the supernatural theme going into Terrifier 2. We really go from this dark, gritty, grindhouse-style horror to something a little more mystical in the follow-up. Now this time, we bring in Sienna and her younger brother, Jonathan. But after what happened to Tara in our first film, I no longer want to attach myself to these characters. I know they can be taken away from me at any point, so I'm really reluctant to care about this emotional journey that they're trying to take me on. And honestly, I think Tara was a stronger character than Sienna, and I'm just not buying what's being sold to me. But we are back to peak Art throughout this sequel. The Halloween store scene is fantastic. We've got Art playing with props, trying on glasses, him sneaking up on Sienna with the horn. It's just masterclass.
Sir, if you're gonna put that in your mouth, you gotta pay for it.
Now, Damien is really trying to push the boundaries once again with his kills, and in no scene is this more apparent than the bedroom kill. Now, this was a scene where folks were saying audiences were throwing up or walking out because they couldn't stomach it. But honestly, for me, it was fine, but I found myself chuckling quite a bit and thinking, I'm not quite sure that's how the human anatomy works. I actually enjoyed Brooke's death later in the film far more. I had some difficulty connecting with Terrifier 2. I wasn't really digging the hallucinations with the girl clown. The 10-minute dream sequence was a bit hollow, And I think we are just trying to do too much with the dad backstory. I think overall Damien could have tightened this one up a bit. 2 hours and 20 minutes for a slasher is just a bit much. Now, after watching some interviews, I do think Damien is very self-aware of what's working and what's not. I think Terrifier 3 is really going to leave its mark. Regardless, that is Art the Clown, Terrifier, and a franchise I think we're going to be hearing a lot from in the coming years. Terrifier 3 now is right on deck, coming out October 11th, and I am excited to see where this franchise takes us. While not perfect, Art is off to a phenomenal start as a potential mainstay. He brings so much to the table with his unique look, style, and overall presence. My hope is director Damien Leone doesn't stray too far from the character and only focus on the absurdity of the kills. I began to get that vibe from 2, and my concern is this goes too far off the rails too early on. Personally, I am a fan of Art the Clown, and I think Mr. Leone has really found something here with Terrifier. Is Art a household name? Maybe not just yet, but there is a new sense of excitement with this franchise and a character whose story is just beginning. Well, that's it for us this week. Slash that subscribe button and have a killer evening.